drive to make Pariah as my first kind of feature was the fact that I was going through my own coming out process at the time. So I was at a time in my life where I was, figuring myself out. I came into my sexuality really late in life. I was 27 at the time. And so, after I worked through, knowing who I was, the harder part was figuring out how to be that. And so Nikisa Cooper, the producer, actually took me to my first lesbian club, and so I'd go to that space and not really feel like I fit in that space. I didn't feel like I was hard enough or soft enough, and so it was about me, feeling like I didn't really fit in the gay world or the straight world, and so Pariah came about, as just a catharsis.
Where do you think you fit now?
I don't know. I think I'm somewhere on the spectrum. I guess yeah, I don't want to check a box, but I feel like I fit on the spectrum and kind of found, that it's okay to just be myself and I don't have to be anything here.
And how did that relationship with Spike Lee come about? Because a lot of people have had kind of, a lot of lesbians have had a problematic relationship with his representation in film, so it was in a way great that he supported this film. So how did that come about?
Yeah, so the relationship with Spike Lee came about because he was actually a professor of mine at NYU in the grad film program. And so he teaches the master classes there, and also I got to intern with him. So I interned with him in 2005 on Inside Man, which is where I first started writing Pariah, and then also again with him on When the Levees Broke. Kind of ironically, both internships with him, I was interning for a black lesbian, woman. So it was on his set, there were more kind of black gay people than I'd seen on any other set. And so basically he, would look at drafts of the script, as a student, and Nikisa Cooper would take him drafts of the budget, and he'd give her detailed feedback on it. And basically he had been kind of acting as a mentor and advisor throughout the process. And so we asked him to come on board officially. Nikisa asked him to come on board as exec producer. And of course she asked him to write a check. He said no, but he gave us his time, which ended up being more valuable than that. And he's been, throughout the process, and would watch cuts of the film. So, despite some of his films that I know were controversial, he's really taken us under his wing in a way that he didn't have to, perhaps.
And speaking about checks, what were the challenges of raising finance for Pariah in terms of your experience as a first-time director and the subject matter?
Yeah, so Nikisa Cooper again is a producer, and so she is the one who's primarily responsible for fundraising. And the biggest challenge was the fact that people could only see this film as a niche film. They put it in a box, so to speak. They saw it as a black lesbian film, although we knew it was about identity, and it was that, but more. And so the biggest challenge was convincing people that this film had universal appeal and that it was something that everyone could relate to. And so we used the short film as a way to market and kind of showcase that there's an audience and that people could relate to the film. And also Nikisa ended up going to private equity, so we got a lot of investors who basically were investing in the social, the social bottom line and not the box office kind of potential of the film. And a lot of grants also helped us get the film done.
How has the film been received internationally and in the States? Have you noticed any differences in festivals?
Yeah, it's interesting. So far internationally, we've screened at Toronto, and then London will be our first kind of European screening of the feature. And so, so far it's been well. I mean, it's been well received. I think different audiences, they laugh in different places, and they may connect to different characters. But overall, the response has been positive, and we're just now kind of getting away from industry crowds and getting more into actual theater goers. And the response with theater goers has been really warm and really exciting. So it's going well so far.
Well, let's bring it down to a little bit of the personal now, because it's a really deep film in a way. It's a coming of age film, Pariah, and just wanted to find out about your own coming out experiences, what that was like when you came out to your parents.
Mm-hmm. So when I came out to my parents, it's funny because initially, I had a phone conversation with my mother, and I don't think she took it seriously, but then I called her back and told her that I actually had a girlfriend and that it was serious, and she and my grandmother flew in the next weekend to have an intervention. But I didn't know it was that. I thought they were coming to visit, so I'm buying theater tickets and making restaurant reservations and trying to have a nice visit. And then my mom, called me into the living room, and she was like, "Tell your grandmother what you told me." And so it was a big kind of conversation, and they felt like, I wasn't thinking or that something was wrong. And I had to convince them that, A, there's nothing wrong with me, and B, this is, not a choice, and so it's no one's fault and nothing's going wrong. And also that I was the same person that I had always been. And that next weekend, my father flew in, you know, and had like the same questions, and you know, he was concerned about, you know, whether it's my parents' relationship that had affected me, but again, getting back to the idea that, you know, there's nothing wrong and this is not a choice, and I'm the same person. So, you know, after that, we had a period of years where we didn't really speak to each other, and then we did talk. You know, I was modifying my pronouns and saying I instead of we, and omitting the parts of my life that involved my girlfriend. And so in a way, I was participating in my own kind of oppression. And I came to a point finally where I stopped going home for holidays, and you know, the attitude was, you know, if my girlfriend can't come, then I can't come. And really, like after I missed one Christmas, you know, things started to change, and I think they realized that, you know, they wanted me in their lives, and I wanted to be a part of their lives. And so my mom has actually come a really long way, and she's, you know, expressed very, you know, profusely that she loves me and that she loves me no matter what, and you know, she wants to be a part of my life. And actually this past Christmas is the first time she came out to Long Beach and spent Christmas with me since I came out. And yes, I think the biggest thing I had to learn was to not participate in the hiding and participate in the oppression, and the more comfortable I became with myself, the more comfortable they were.
That's really inspiring, thank you, because it'd be great for people who are thinking about the consequences of coming out, and the consequences on their own psychological development as well.
Right, yeah.
Well-being.
Yeah, and it's even braver for like teenagers to do it because they're dependent, you know. So I was in a situation where I was independent. Like I'm not, you know, I pay my own rent, but I'm still afraid to come out. So I mean, I was just inspired to see these, you know, teens in Brooklyn, New York, who like, you know, already knew and were being that because the stakes are much higher for them.
So did you do research with gay teenagers, lesbian teenagers when you were making this movie?
Not so much research, but in the so when we decided to shoot an excerpt of the feature of the short film, we actually workshopped the material with some teenagers from the Hedrick Martin Institute. It was like the Harvey Milk School, and initially I was going to shoot the short like with the teens, but some of them weren't out to their parents, and so they'd miss rehearsals and not show up. But definitely, like in workshopping the script with them, it was definitely hearing that okay, they're relating to it and it was truthful. So yeah.
At the beginning of the film, you've got a quote from Audrey Lord, which I was just like, boom.
Yeah.
So tell me about that, because, you know, for people of my generation, she was important, but it's kind of good to see a new generation who's taking that on as well.
Yeah, no, Audrey Lord is like what got me through my own coming out. I was reading her, and you know, I read Zami, and I'd get this idea of like a biomythography. You know, it was kind of the inspiration, you know, like informed Pariah, because you know, like this woman who decided to like take charge of her own history and take charge of her name. You know, the audacity of taking the Y off her name because she didn't like it. You know, like that really inspired me and made me not feel as alone, and made me feel like, you know, someone has gone before me and someone will come after me, and I'm not the only one who's gone through this experience. So Zami was really just healing for me to read, and really just kind of lit the way, and so she's an inspiration for my work.
The film has a dark-skinned black woman as the lead, and I'm sure that must have been deliberate in a way, because you really have to go out to get those actors. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about that, and also the fact that you showed a black middle-class family, because you don't normally see that on screen ever. Yeah.
Well, in terms of I do think, you know, there's a need for more complexion diversity in cinema. You know, typically, you know, it took a long time for African Americans to break into cinema, and when we did, you know, it was definitely like, you know, the lighter complexion actresses who got a chance. And I just want to redefine beauty and, like, you know, give people different images of what beauty is. And so for this film, Pariah came in, and she was an amazing actress, and she killed the role. And so no matter what complexion she was, I would have cast her. But it was that much sweeter that she's this beautiful brown-skinned woman, and she, you know, I think for other little girls who are being told that they're, you know, should look a certain way, or they look at fashion magazines and they're not seeing themselves, it would be great for them to see Pariah and see themselves and see this beautiful, gorgeous woman who's, you know, an amazing actress, and yeah, a darker complexion. So complexion diversity is something I definitely want to see more of. And in terms of the middle class family, I'm actually from a middle class family. I grew up in the suburbs. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, so I didn't grow up in, you know, this quote unquote urban environment. And, you know, in Pariah, I wanted to show the layers, so that, you know, just kind of adds a richness that Audrey's problem with Laura is not just that she's openly gay. Her problem with Laura is that she thinks she perceives her to be of like a lesser ilk. So, you know, by adding that like class layer, I think just makes the story more interesting and just kind of shows that people, that black people aren't this monolithic, you know, presentation of blackness that we see. Like, you know, these are different girls with different backgrounds and different musics that they listen to and just different, you know, points of view, and just makes it just that much more interesting.
Do you have other influences as a filmmaker, and what are they in your, you know, people who you admire, you want to be like?
Filmmakers I admire would be Cassavetes, obviously, because I like his work. Is very immediate, urgent, and like you don't hear the script at all. You think you're just watching something. I like Uzon Policy, who did Sugarcane Alley. I remember like watching as a kid on VHS tape. Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu, who did, I believe, Amores Perros, and because again, like the immediacy and urgency of the work, I really love. So those are filmmakers that I look up to, and of course, Spike Lee was like one of the first, like, you know, it was when I first became aware that there was a director behind the scenes doing all it, and maybe because he put himself in front of the camera, I became aware of directing as a profession. But yeah, Cassavetes, and yeah, it's just, you know, work I aspire to.
Right, and what's next for you? You know, what are your thought processes on what, you know, what you're going to do next? Because Pariah just blew everything out of the water.
Wow,
you know, cinematically, director-wise, acting, just everything. So, like, you've raised the bar, I think.
Wow, thanks.
So, where are you going to go next?
Well, I think, I just want to mention also that the cinematographer's name is Bradford Young, and he's amazing. Collaborators you mentioned, and Adepero Duye, who plays Alike, and Pernell Walker plays Laura. Like, they're all amazing talents, so it was, you know, a group effort. But in terms of what's next, like for me, I feel like who I am and will always be a part of my stories, and will always be, you know, in those characters. For me, the next level is to move forward with stories where the sexuality isn't the plot point necessarily, but it's just a part of who they are, and again, like, you know, furthering the acceptance level by, you know, just making it matter of fact in what it is. So the next thing I wrote was I just wrote a feature script for Focus called Bolo. So it's like a southern crime thriller, and you know, yeah, there's those characters there. And then also I'm working on a TV series with HBO and Viola Davis. So just continuing to like tell stories that are meaningful and characters that I'm in love with.
Can you say what the HBO series is about? Is that a secret?
It's about, you know, I'll just say it's about it's about the world of San Francisco private schools and corruption. Yeah. That's it.
Great. Is there anything you want to tell the readers of Diva? Any little message that you want to tell them?
I would just say it's okay to be yourself, and you know, I hope that they'll keep watching, and I hope that they'll keep, you know, creating art and adding to the conversation.